The Galactic Alliance, a union of species spanning countless stars, their collective peace built on the foundations of diplomacy, trust, and technology, a beacon to the universe, showing what harmony could look like if every race could find common ground. For over 200 years, this utopia has thrived, but beneath the surface of its gleaming perfection lies a deeper truth. Peace is always fragile, and trust is earned, not freely given. Pans across Carthan Station, a colossal spaceport that serves as the heart of the Alliance. Gigantic ships of all shapes and sizes drift in the vast expanse, their hulls gleaming under artificial suns. The station itself is a sprawling metropolis, filled with bustling trade hubs, alien species of every form imaginable, and towering skyscrapers that stretch up to meet the stars. Advanced holographic advertisements hover in the air, while diplomats and traders move between countless species with varying motives. It's a place of peace, but it's also a place where tension brews just beneath the polished surface. Sarah Voss, a young human diplomat, stands at the precipice of her greatest challenge. Her past is one of battle, of serving as an elite Marine, before trading her rifle for a diplomat's briefcase. Her skills as a negotiator have earned her the respect of even the most hardened species, yet her humanity is a source of distrust among the galaxy's more established powers. Sarah stands at the window of her quarters aboard Carthan Station, watching the ships drift by. Her sharp eyes scan the stars, but her mind is elsewhere. She's a strategist at heart, constantly calculating the next move. Her past is etched into her features, deep lines of experience, eyes that have seen too much. There's a hardness to her, a soldier's edge that no amount of diplomacy can erase. A voice interrupts her thoughts. Lieutenant Reese, overcom. Commander, the summit's starting soon. We'll need to be ready. Sarah, don't worry, Lieutenant. The galaxy's never been more ready for us. But as she turns away from the viewport, a hint of doubt flickers in her eyes. What will it cost them to prove humanity's worth? Carthan Station, the nexus of galactic diplomacy. It's a neutral ground, where the leaders of countless species gather. And though it may appear to be a shining example of cooperation, the reality is far darker. The peace here is fragile, and each race has its own agenda. Humanity's presence, too new, too unpredictable, only serves to heighten the unease. Sarah walks through the station's grand corridors, her footsteps echoing off the polished floors. The walls are adorned with murals of interspecies cooperation, but the people, aliens of all shapes and sizes, whisper among themselves as she passes. Their glances are full of wariness. Some are curious, some are fearful, and some are downright hostile. Carthan might be a place of peace, but it is also a powder keg waiting for a spark. She enters the central diplomatic chamber, where leaders from various species are already gathered. The atmosphere is tense. The room is filled with alien diplomats, tall insectoid beings with segmented eyes, and those whose skin seems to shift like liquid crystal. The hum of quiet conversations fills the air. As Sarah steps to the front, all eyes turn to her. The weight of their gazes presses down on her, reminding her just how precarious humanity's position truly is. Humanity, quote, "Our greatest strength lies in its ability to adapt, to solve problems, to think outside the box. But with that resourcefulness comes unpredictability, and in a galaxy that prizes stability above all else, that makes humanity dangerous. Trust has to be earned, something the galaxy isn't sure it's ready to offer." Sarah stands at the head of the table, addressing the council. The leader of the insectoid species, Ambassador Jokar, is glaring at her. His mandibles twitch in irritation. "Jokar, you humans are unpredictable. You claim to bring innovation, yet how can we trust a species that has no sense of restraint?" Sarah's voice remains calm, even as her jaw tightens. Sarah's restraint. The galaxy has grown complacent. Humanity has brought innovation where others stagnate. We've faced extinction and come back stronger every time. Trust isn't about predictability, it's about survival. Jokar's eyes narrow, but he says nothing. The room is thick with unspoken tension. Every word, every move, is under scrutiny. There are whispers in the dark corners of the station. The Clorax Syndicate, an underground faction within the Alliance, has been growing in power. They see humanity as a threat to the balance, a species too unpredictable to be trusted. Their shadow looms over the station, and though their movements are subtle, their intentions are clear. Building tension, Sarah receives an encrypted message in her quarters, a series of unsettling images and vague threats about humanity's future in the Alliance. Her fingers hover over the screen, and for a moment, her breath catches in her throat. The Syndicate's message is clear. If humanity is allowed to rise, there will be consequences. She knows that they'll strike soon, but how, and what will they do once they do? The death of Lieutenant Adam Reese sends shockwaves through the peaceful veneer of Carthan Station. Adam, Sarah's most trusted confidant and closest friend, is found brutally murdered under mysterious circumstances. Was it an accident, or was it the opening salvo in a much darker game? Emotional impact. Sarah stands over Adam's body in the sterile medical bay. Her hand trembles as she touches his shoulder. Her mind races. Who would do this? Why? The pain is almost too much to bear. The only thing that cuts through the haze of grief is her need for answers. The station's security officers are already combing through the scene. They're asking questions, looking for answers, but Sarah knows this wasn't random. Adam's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a message. She looks down at the bloodied datapad Adam had been holding before his death. The last thing he had been working on was a report on the Clorax Syndicate's movements. They've made their move. The Galactic Council's hesitation, a political dilemma. The vast chamber of the Galactic Council reverberated with hushed voices, its high-tech walls gleaming beneath the soft glow of countless stars. Representatives from dozens of alien races sat at a massive circular table, each one with a distinct appearance, yet all bound by the fragile peace of the Galactic Alliance. For over 2 centuries, the Alliance had been a beacon of unity, but now, that peace was at risk. Commander Sarah Voss stood at the center of the room, her eyes narrowing as the debate swirled around her. Adam Reese, her closest confidant, was dead, murdered. The Council's reluctance to act was maddening. Some factions feared that retaliatory action could spark a war. Others wanted to preserve the delicate balance they had worked so hard to achieve. Sarah's pulse quickened as she listened to the Council's deliberations. The representatives argued in their endless, meandering way. The Sicari delegate, a towering reptilian being, spoke first, his voice like the rumble of a distant storm. A swift response would only fracture the unity we've built. We must find a peaceful solution. His words, though well-intentioned, seemed hollow in the face of Adam's blood-stained memory. Across the room, the Vorax delegate, a tall silver-skinned alien, nodded in agreement. We cannot let one incident destroy what we've achieved. We must look at the bigger picture. But Sarah's thoughts screamed, what bigger picture? She knew the galaxy was fragile, but she couldn't let Adam's death go unanswered. Peace at any cost. She clenched her jaw, trying to control the anger that bubbled within her. The ethical dilemma weighed heavily on her. Should she fight for justice, or honor the Council's call for diplomacy? The stakes had never been higher. The alien race responsible for Adam's death, the Kovar, had a history of clashing with humans. Now, in the midst of the Council's debate, their representative, a pale, angular being named Ozar, stood with a strange air of calmness. We did not intend for the death of Lieutenant Reese, Ozar said, his voice smooth, almost soothing. It was a misunderstanding, based on the unpredictability of human behavior. Sarah's eyes flared with disbelief. The room grew tense as her mind raced. Unpredictability, misunderstanding. The Kovar delegate continued, our cultural norms differ from yours. What you see as aggression, we see as passion. Your customs, your unpredictability, create chaos. Sarah fought to keep her voice steady. A misunderstanding. You killed him. You didn't misunderstand anything. You murdered him.
The Kovar representatives' words had created a war between human and alien values. The Kovar culture valued peace, but their understanding of human diplomacy was severely lacking. They couldn't grasp the concept of honor, the concept of friendship that had led Sarah and Adam to fight side by side. Ozar's face remained neutral, but his eyes betrayed a glimpse of something deeper, something more unsettling. Perhaps we were wrong in our approach, but you must understand humans. Your unpredictability is dangerous. Sarah felt the weight of his words press down on her. Is that how they truly saw humanity? A wild, dangerous species that must be controlled. She swallowed her fury, trying to focus. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Inside her quarters, Sarah stood alone, her fists clenched at her sides. The hollow echo of her footsteps in the sterile white hallways of Carthan Station was a reminder of her isolation. Adam's death had shattered something deep within her, something she hadn't known was breakable. She always known the weight of duty, the burden of diplomacy, but this was personal. Adam wasn't just a comrade, he was family. The thought of him lying cold, his life taken so senselessly, made her insides twist with rage. Duty, she whispered to herself, the word sounding foreign on her tongue. It had always been her guiding light, but now, it felt like a cage. Her heart was torn, every fiber of her being screamed for justice, but the council's mandate was clear: peace at all costs. Diplomacy was the only answer they were willing to entertain. But how could she uphold a peace that cost her so much? Sarah's mind raced back to the mission briefing, to Adam's last words before the summit began. Sarah, remember why we're here. Don't let them use us as pawns. She had always trusted Adam's instincts, and now his death made his warning all the more chilling. Who were the real pawns in this game? Sarah's jaw tightened. She would find the truth, whatever it took. Back on Earth, in the depths of a hidden military facility, the wheels of action began to turn. High-ranking officers gathered in a secure chamber, their faces grim, their minds focused. The council has stalled long enough, General Roderick Vance said, his voice low but commanding. He turned to his aide. Activate the Silent Protocol. The Silent Protocol was a covert response team, Earth's Black Ops unit, prepared for situations where diplomacy had failed. A rapid strike force capable of dealing with any threat. They operated in the shadows, their existence known only to the highest echelons of command. In the dark recesses of their training facility, soldiers moved in near silence, preparing for an operation that would shift the balance of power within the Galactic Alliance. As Sarah debated her next steps on Carthan Station, Earth's response was already in motion. The Silent Protocol was a testament to humanity's adaptability, a stark reminder that diplomacy wasn't the only tool at their disposal. And in the dark, deep silence of their preparation, something was awakening. A raw, untapped power that could bring galaxies to their knees. Sarah stood in front of a holographic projector, her fingers hovering over the controls. She hadn't planned on doing this, not yet. But as the weight of the mission, the Council's resistance, and Adam's death pressed down on her, she felt an overwhelming need to say goodbye. The soft whir of the projector flickered to life. The image of Adam's face filled the room. His eyes were full of warmth, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. For a moment, it felt like nothing had changed, like they were still back on Earth, ready for their next mission. But the reality hit her like a wave, and she blinked back tears. "I'll get justice for you, Adam," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I promise." Her finger hovered over the record button, her mind racing. She had to do this for him, for herself, for humanity. She spoke, her words raw and real. Adam wasn't just a soldier, he was my family, my brother, my confidant, and I'll carry that with me, no matter what happens. They'll never understand the bonds we shared, but I won't let them forget. With a final trembling breath, she pressed the button. As the hologram of Adam faded, Sarah knew that her path was set. There was no turning back now. Sarah S recorded message, intimate, personal, began to spread across Earth's global network. It wasn't intended for public consumption, but it had become Sarah's message, would become a symbol, a spark in the dark. And somewhere in the far reaches of space, the first tremors of a new war began to stir. The galaxy would never be the same again. Aboard Earth's orbital fleet, vast warships glide silently through the cold, vast reaches of space. The fleet's engines hum, a quiet force against the silence of the stars. On the command deck, officers work with precise focus. A hidden purpose drives the operations, a purpose known only to Earth's high command. The fleet moves in stealth, disguised under the cover of training exercises. But beneath the calm, beneath the order, something much darker brews. Earth's military is preparing for something no one in the Galactic Council suspects. The Calorax, a brutal alien species, had crossed a line, and now the line would be redrawn. Something more. It became a rallying cry. Quietly, across the human colonies, whispers began. A collective pulse, a heartbeat of defiance. On colonies far from the Galactic Council's eye, in darkened spaceships and dimly lit stations, human leaders began to rally their forces. A resistance was being born, not in open revolt, but in a quiet revolution, driven by the pain of Adam's loss and the belief that humanity had been wronged. The warships gleam with the latest human technology, sleek hulls made of reinforced alloys, AI-driven defense systems that could turn entire fleets to dust with the flick of a switch. The officers aboard these ships are not just soldiers, they are humanity's final response to the galaxy's many threats. Humanity's ingenuity lies not only in diplomacy, but in its capacity for unrelenting force when cornered. Commander, the training exercises are on schedule. We've kept the fleet movements minimal. The Calorax won't suspect a thing. Commander, good, but don't forget, if the Council finds out about this, if Earth even gets a whiff of retaliation, it'll shatter the fragile peace we've worked so hard to maintain. Let's keep it under wraps. And yet, under Earth's diplomatic surface, they are ready to act. For all their promises of peace, when pushed, humanity knows how to fight. The Calorax had made a grave mistake, and Earth would make them regret it. Alien reactions, tension across the Galactic Council. The Galactic Council chambers, a vast hall of strange architecture, where representatives from countless species gather. The air hums with unspoken tension as the representatives sit at the round table, their varied forms casting long shadows across the floor. The news of Earth's build-up spreads fast. It's not just Earth that's on edge. Other species, each with their own political agendas, react with growing concern. Some see Earth as a necessary force for balance, a protector of the weak. Others, however, see a threat, a reminder that humanity is not as docile as the other species thought. Council leader, a serene alien. We cannot let this escalation become a reality. Earth's actions risk destabilizing the entire sector. We must be cautious in our response. Calorax representative, a towering figure. You fear the consequences, while the humans act with open defiance. We should show them that power belongs to those who understand dominance, not to sentimental creatures. The tension grows, each species' perspective, a mirror of their culture. Some see justice for Adam's death as necessary, others, a dangerous provocation. Some wonder, will Earth's thirst for vengeance break the delicate balance they have all fought so hard to maintain? The Calorax's fatal miscalculation, a dim-lit conference room. Sarah, human envoy and widow of Adam, stands before the council, her face betraying little emotion. Across from her, the Calorax delegation sits, exuding arrogance. The Calorax had no understanding of the deep bond humanity shared. To them, killing a subordinate was an act of control, not murder. Their brutal hierarchy had blinded them to the human capacity for love, for friendship, for brotherhood. Sarah clenches her fists, her mind racing. She can't believe what she's hearing. Calorax delegate, nonchalant. The subordinate's death was necessary for the stability of our group. It was a minor infraction, a correction. We did not anticipate the emotional reaction of your people. A cultural misunderstanding, they say. But to Sarah, it's a slap in the face. Adam was not a subordinate, he was family. The Calorax couldn't see it. They had made a critical error, and now that ignorance would cost them everything. Sarah quote, internal thoughts. They think this is a simple mistake, a misunderstanding. But it's more than that. They didn't just kill a soldier, they killed someone they loved. On Earth, a memorial service for Adam. His daughter stands at a podium, tears brimming in her her eyes, but her voice unwavering. The camera pans across a sea of people, humans of all walks of life watching. Adam's daughter, my father wasn't just a soldier, he was a protector, a hero. He gave his life not just for us, but for the future. And now, we must stand up for him, and for humanity's honor. Her words ripple through the crowd, but they don't stop there. Her speech becomes a beacon, spreading far and wide across the human colonies. Her tribute to Adam transcends the immediate grief. It becomes a rallying cry, a signal to all humans. We will not be seen as weak anymore.
Her voice echoes through the fabric of humanity's heart, sparking a wave of unity and anger. For the first time, humans feel it. No longer will they be dismissed. The Kellorax had miscalculated badly. The galaxy would soon understand that humanity's resolve was not to be taken lightly. Sarah stands before a holographic projection of the Galactic Council's leaders, their faces cold and unyielding. Sarah knows the weight of the choice before her. If she sides with Earth, the Galactic Alliance risks shattering. Peace, a fragile illusion, will collapse. But if she does nothing, humanity will be seen as weak, unable to defend their own. Sarah quotes Sarah's internal thoughts. I can't let them see us as nothing more than victims. But if I push Earth to act, it could mean war. Adam wouldn't want that, but he wouldn't want us to bow our heads either. Sarah to the Council, the Kellorax have crossed a line. They took Adam's life, but they also insulted all of humanity. You think peace is the answer, but what happens when you turn the other cheek? Do we let them trample us? Her decision is impossible, torn between duty and personal loss. Sarah stands at a precipice, knowing that whatever choice she makes, it will alter the galaxy forever. A broadcast screen flares to life, showing the Kellorax leader laughing, mocking humanity for their softness. Kellorax leader, sneering, the humans are so predictable. All this emotional turmoil over one weakling's death. Pathetic. The insult cuts through the already frayed nerves of humanity. Sarah watches the broadcast in disgust, her anger boiling over. It's the final straw. Sarah's internal thoughts. They've gone too far. This isn't just about Adam anymore. It's about every human who's ever been underestimated. This ends now, as the Kellorax mockery spreads. Earth's leadership takes notice. The stage is set for a conflict that could tear the galaxy apart. And Sarah, she knows that the next step will push humanity into a war they can't escape. The silence of space was broken by the hum of Earth's Blackwing Squadron, an elite group of pilots trained for the impossible, hidden in the shadows of the Kellorax war factory. Their cloaked ships descended, almost invisible against the backdrop of distant stars. Not a sound, not a warning. In under 5 minutes, they hit their target, a devastating strike that crippled the heart of the Kellorax military without a single civilian harmed. Inside their ships, the pilots moved with practiced precision, their minds synced with advanced AI targeting systems. Every move was calculated, every decision instantaneous. The technology was flawless, cloaking devices rendering them unseen, weapons calibrated for absolute surgical strikes. Earth's military prowess was no longer a secret. It was a declaration. The galaxy held its breath as the Kellorax war factory burned, flames licking the sky. The Blackwing Squadron had done the impossible. The Kellorax was stunned, their once feared war machine left in ruins. The message was clear. Humanity's ingenuity and decisiveness had shattered all expectations. Across the Galactic Alliance, the news spread like wildfire. Whispers of Earth's precision traveled far and wide. The Kellorax, once so sure of their power, now reeled in disbelief. Humanity had shown them that underestimating Earth's military might was a dangerous mistake. A new force had risen, and no one would forget it. As the smoke cleared from the Blackwing Squadron's strike, the galaxy waited for Earth's next move. What they didn't expect was restraint. Humanity, quote, Sarah's response had been surgical, not reckless. The Kellerak's war factory was a legitimate military target, and no civilian lives had been lost. The Blackwing Squadron had followed a strict code, ensuring that their retaliation was precise and just. No genocide, no collateral damage. Earth's actions were not about revenge. They were about restoring balance. The galaxy was stunned. Species that had expected a brutal, unrelenting assault were now faced with the reality that humanity wasn't just capable of destruction, they were capable of restraint, of moral clarity. Across the stars, the once prevalent belief that Earth was a chaotic, unpredictable force began to crumble. Earth had shown the galaxy that while they were a fierce species, they were also one bound by a strong ethical compass. For the first time, humanity was respected, not just for their strength, but for their moral integrity. In the aftermath of the strike, Sarah Voss stood before the comms terminal, her hands steady as she prepared to broadcast a message that would echo across the galaxy. She was not just a diplomat, she was humanity's voice in this moment of reckoning. Her words were simple but powerful, a declaration of humanity's resolve. We do not seek revenge, we seek understanding. But understand this: humanity will not be your prey. We are not what you expected, we are worse. Her voice carried through the stars with an authority and a calm fury that resonated deep within the hearts of all who heard it. There was no fear in her words, only a firm conviction that Earth would not be intimidated or silenced. The Kelleraks reeled from the message, their arrogance cracking under the weight of her resolve. The Galactic Alliance, too, began to reassess humanity's place in the cosmos. What was once seen as a chaotic, unpredictable species was now regarded with both fear and respect. Sarah's declaration had done more than shift perceptions. It had ignited a firestorm, and as the words settled in, the galaxy realized that humanity was no longer a force to be ignored. They were a force to be reckoned with. In the quiet after Sarah's message, another voice cut through the tension, this one filled with raw emotion and personal loss. The recording was from Adam's daughter, her voice trembling but steady as she honored her fallen father. He wasn't just a soldier, he was a protector, a father, a hero. Her words rippled across the galaxy, touching the hearts of humans everywhere. But it was not just humanity that felt the impact. The emotional weight of her tribute to Adam's sacrifice brought a new human dimension to the conflict. It was no longer just about power or military strategy. It was about the lives behind the uniforms, the people who lived and died for something bigger than themselves. Her speech went viral, spreading across colonies and alien worlds alike. Adam's daughter had spoken not just for Earth, but for every soldier who had ever fallen in the name of duty. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. Galaxy reacts, shock, awe, and fear ripple through the stars. The aftermath of the Blackwing Squadron's strike and Sarah's bold transmission sent shockwaves through the galaxy. What was once seen as a volatile, unpredictable force in the Alliance was now something much more complex. Humanity's blend of strength, precision, and ethical resolve had shattered preconceived notions. Species that had once dismissed humanity as a chaotic, unrefined force now found themselves rethinking their stance. The Kelleraks, cornered and humiliated, were left to face a bitter reality. The humans they had underestimated were not only capable of destruction, but of profound moral clarity. Respect for humanity grew, but so did fear. Earth had proven that it could strike with deadly efficiency, yet still uphold a moral code. This realization sent ripples of unease across the Galactic Alliance, as species scrambled to reassess their alliances and strategies. Humanity was no longer just a wild card. They had proven themselves a force to be reckoned with, capable of devastating power, but also bound by an unshakable moral compass. And as the galaxy watched, they realized that humanity's place in the stars was no longer uncertain. Earth had arrived, and the consequences would be felt for generations. The war factory's smoke still hovered in the distant reaches of space, a silent reminder of the might humanity had just unleashed.
Across the galaxy, diplomatic channels buzzed with activity. The Kelleraks, once haughty and confident in their strength, now found themselves humbled. They sent a formal apology to Earth, acknowledging the overwhelming force that had crippled their military, and acknowledging the consequences of their aggressive actions. It was a rare and significant shift in intergalactic diplomacy. "We admit our miscalculations," the Kelleraks' transmission began, "and seek to repair our relations with humanity. We were wrong in our assumptions. We were wrong in our actions." The apology sent shockwaves across the galaxy, drawing mixed reactions. Several members of the Galactic Council began to propose new diplomatic protocols aimed at better understanding human culture, a move to explore the complexities behind Earth's behavior. It was clear the galaxy could no longer ignore the depth of humanity's strength, and diplomacy was the only way forward. Yet not all species were quick to embrace this shift. Some feared that humanity's unpredictability was a ticking time bomb. The Kelleraks had learned the hard way, but others were unsure if this apology would suffice. There were no guarantees in dealing with a species capable of such devastating power, and now no species could afford to underestimate Earth again. As the dust settled, Sarah Voss found herself wrestling with a darker realization. Peace had come, not through dialogue or understanding, but through overwhelming strength. Humanity's military might had been the decisive factor, and she couldn't ignore the ethical questions that lingered. Was this truly peace, or had they simply silenced their enemies through fear? Humanity had proved its power, yes, but at what cost? Was it right to wield such force knowing that it came at the expense of genuine understanding? Sarah stood alone in her quarters, staring at the stars outside the window, reflecting on the path that had led her here. She knew Earth's strength was necessary, but could they hold on to their humanity in the face of such raw power? The dilemma tugged at her heart, but a moment of clarity broke through. Humanity's strength, she realized, must always be tempered by compassion and a commitment to protect, not destroy. She would ensure that Earth never became the very thing they despised, a species who sought to dominate rather than to understand. Sarah's introspection was a turning point. As she pondered the path ahead, she reaffirmed the core values that made humanity unique: honor, integrity, restraint. These were the pillars that defined Earth's place in the galaxy, not just its military power. Humanity's strength could not be denied, but it was the moral compass of its people that would shape its future. She had seen the darkness of war, and yet in the quiet moments of reflection, Sarah knew that humanity's true power lay in its ability to maintain its humanity, even in the face of overwhelming odds. She grew as a leader that day, understanding that true peace could only be achieved through understanding, not just force. The future was uncertain, but she would navigate it with the strength of Earth's ideals, determined to ensure humanity never lost sight of who they were. The galaxy had been irrevocably changed. Earth's military prowess and moral complexity had transformed humanity's reputation from the impulsive, unpredictable species they had once been perceived as, into a force to be both respected and feared. No longer were humans seen as barbaric conquerors, now they were viewed as fierce defenders of life and protectors of their own values. Yet despite the newfound respect, an underlying tension lingered. Species now watched Earth with caution, acknowledging their strength, while fearful of what could happen should that strength be provoked again. The Kelleraks, humbled but not broken, began to reassess their understanding of humanity. What was once seen as reckless aggression was now viewed as protectionism. Earth fought not for dominance, but to protect what they valued most. This cultural awakening was not just limited to the Kelleraks. Many other species began to rethink their long-held beliefs about humanity. The galaxy's view of Earth had irrevocably shifted, but this shift came with a cost. The galaxy, now aware of Earth's power, was unsure of the consequences. Humanity's unpredictability still made them a wild card in galactic politics. Their strength was undeniable, but their motives remained complex and unpredictable. A delicate peace had been forged in the wake of humanity's decisive strike. The galaxy had entered into a new era of diplomacy, but it was a fragile one. There was mutual respect, but it was built on the understanding that trust must be earned. Humanity stood at the crossroads of this new era. Their power was no longer a secret, and the galaxy was now forced to recognize Earth as a force to be reckoned with. But the future was uncertain. Earth had shown its strength, but how would it navigate the complexities of galactic politics in the years to come? While there was peace for now, it was a peace shaped by caution and fear, as much as by respect. All parties understood that the balance was fragile, and Earth's actions would be scrutinized with a careful eye. The possibility of future conflict remained, but so did the possibility for cooperation. The future was an open question, one that would be answered by the choices humanity made in the days ahead. The classroom was quiet, save for the hum of the holographic projector that displayed a vivid image of a human woman standing tall in front of a crowd. The young alien students sat at the back, their eyes wide as they absorbed every word. It was a speech given by Adam's daughter, a voice of pure emotion, captured in the aftermath of Earth's victory, a speech that spoke of vengeance, love, and the unyielding resolve of humanity. The footage played out, showing humanity's raw power and the heartbreak behind their actions. For the alien student, raised in a culture that viewed strength as cold and calculated, the speech was a revelation. They had always been taught that might should be wielded without emotion, without attachment. But this was something entirely different. The passion in the human's voice was a foreign concept, one that struck a deep chord within them. The idea of fighting not just for survival, but for family, for honor. This was something their species had never truly understood. They were captivated, not by the message of vengeance alone, but by the deep well of love and loyalty that fueled it. Humanity's resilience was not just a weapon, it was a force that could move mountains. Sarah Voss's voice echoed through the stars, haunting yet resolute, cutting across the galaxy. They feared our rage, but maybe now they'll understand our love is more dangerous. Her words reverberated across the vastness of space, a reminder of what humanity truly represented. Strength, yes, but it was a strength born of love, loyalty, and an unbreakable will to protect those they held dear. Sarah's voice held the weight of generations, the echo of countless battles fought, not for conquest, but for the right to exist, to protect, to endure. Their cold aggression was calculated, Sarah continued, but our fury is tempered by something far greater, our love for each other. That is what makes us unstoppable. The galaxy had been taught to fear humanity's rage, but it was this very rage, fueled by love, that made humanity a force to be reckoned with. A force that, unlike any other species, could fight not just to survive, but to protect what mattered most. And that, Sarah knew, was the true power of humanity. On a barren, forgotten world at the farthest edge of the galaxy, a shadow watched the broadcast. The figure remained hidden, their expression unreadable, yet the tension in the air was palpable. The image of Adam's daughter, standing tall with tears in her eyes, played across a screen in front of them. Their fingers moved over the controls, freezing the image for a brief moment before the voice of a cloaked figure cut through the silence. The humans responded, just as we hoped. The words sent a chill down the spine of anyone who could hear. The hidden observer's voice was cold, devoid of emotion, yet filled with an unsettling satisfaction. The implications were clear. Everything had gone according to plan. Humanity's strength, its vulnerability, its raw emotional power, it was all part of a larger game, one that had been set in motion long before the victory had been secured. Phase 2, the voice murmured, more to themselves than to anyone else. Begin it, revealing a vast, shadowy command center, filled with alien beings watching the broadcast, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. The wheels of manipulation were turning, and Earth's fight was far from over. The galaxy was not ready for what was coming next. But the darkness of space, stretching out like an endless void, the victory felt hollow, the euphoria fleeting. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's power, and the respect earned through bloodshed was undeniable. But as the scene faded, an unsettling question lingered. What now? A sense of unease settled over Earth's newfound peace. It was clear that the victory had been hard-won, but the galaxy was not yet at ease. There were whispers in the dark corners of the cosmos, a growing sense of uncertainty. The humans had proven their strength, but at what cost? And what was next? The voice of Ceravos echoed one final time, fading into the silence of the stars. We've shown them our fury. Now we wait, but we cannot ignore the truth. We may not be done fighting yet. The camera shifted, showing the vast expanse of space once more. The unknown stretched out before humanity, like an endless road, each step forward fraught with the unknown. The distant whispers of the shadowy observer hung in the air. Phase 2 is just beginning, and with that, the universe held its breath, waiting for the next move in this galactic game.